I'm in another reality, and I don't know if I can get out. It all started on a typical summer day. Me and a couple of friends decided it would be a good idea to play Minecraft together. We set up everything that was needed to play, and we loaded in our randomly generated world. When we got there, we began the process of collecting wood to then make tools to get better materials to build a house and even better tools. See, the point of Minecraft is that there is no main objective, and it instead encourages the people playing the game to get creative and make whatever they want. We decided to set up our group home in a nice little hill area. Food was then becoming an issue in the game, so I decided to take it upon myself to gather livestock in order to get them to reproduce so that we could have a seemingly endless supply of food while my friends focused on finishing the house and gathering materials in the mines. I got the seeds needed to attract the chickens and corral them into a pit I had prepared earlier so that they wouldn't escape and we could get in and starve them for their juicy meat when food supplies ran low. Yet despite my best efforts to make the pit unescapable for the lowly chickens, there was one outside the pit looking at me as if wanting recognition for using the others as stepping stones to attain freedom of the pit of the damned. I saw the chicken and took a liking to him. There was something really captivating about it that I decided to keep him as my pet. Though when I introduced him to my friends, they seemed unimpressed by him. Hurt but not fazed by it, I decided to keep him in the house so that creatures could not harm the little guy as he would be safe from the confines of the house. As days passed by, I felt welcome to the house whenever I saw a little chicken waiting for me to get home from exploring far-off lands and fending off disgusting creatures that would kill my dear friend. Though one day it happened. As me and my friends were in the house upgrading our armor and messing around, my feathery friend made a cute clucking sound and I couldn't help but feel enamored by it. Just then I turned around to see one of my friends holding his sword out with bloodlust in his character's eyes as I begin to eye my precious pet. If you do this here, there will be consequences. I bluffed to my friend as intimidatingly as I could, but the fear and suddenness of the whole situation had rattled me up and it sounded very meek to my displeasure. To my dismay, my other friend who was silent until then chimed in saying that I wouldn't do anything, and sadly he was right. Though I am not that religious, I come from a long line of Mormons, and though violence is shunned upon the Mormon culture, my family were strict non-violence advocates. So the bottom line is that I really couldn't hurt someone, even if it's someone in-game. I should have just left it there and moved on, but I stupidly reiterated that there really would be consequences. And though my friend was laughing about it, I had a bad feeling. I was feeling sleepy and satisfied with the amount of exploring and resource gathering I've done, so I told my friends that I was going to go to bed that night. That night I had a terrible nightmare that something had happened to my dear friend in-game and I woke in cold sweat. I wanted to log back into the game and make sure he who escaped the pit and became my dear friend was where I left him, ready to greet me when I logged back in. But I decided against it, because it looked weird to my friends and I had to work the next day. And I couldn't afford to miss work because of my pet in-game, so I forced myself to dispel my worries and go to sleep. The next day was a bit of a blur. I couldn't think of anything but my little feathered friend in the game. When I finished my dinner, I hurriedly joined my friends in our group call to play Minecraft. I had to dispel my fearful thoughts of the chicken not being there. Finally, I was able to log in, but what was there to greet me wasn't my little friend, but signs saying he was gone and hidden away somewhere abandoned. "Where is he? What did you do to him?" I protested to my friends. But all they did was act dumb and say to figure out what the sign says. Though I heard one of them snigger at that, saying that, but no matter, I had to rescue my friend. I thought to myself. I pondered what the signs could mean, but then it hit me. A while back I found this ravine that I wanted to explore, but I was too scared to do it alone, so I asked one of my friends to join me. We went in and found a mineshaft while exploring that I got lost. I didn't know where I came from, so I started to dig my way upwards, and slowly but surely, I was getting out of the mineshaft. When I breached the surface, I saw that I had mined my way to our house. So I tried to make a railway that leads from the hole I dug from the mineshaft, so that it'd be easier to get back where I came from. But I couldn't figure out the mechanics of the game, and ultimately gave up on it, and left it abandoned. That's where my darling pet was at. He must be down the abandoned mineshaft, scared and alone, waiting for me to show up. After putting away what I had on me, from the last expedition and grabbing materials that I may need to save my chicken. I headed towards the entrance of my tunnel. As soon as I arrived there, I looked down at the broken tunnel and reminisced a bit. This tunnel would have been very helpful in acquiring materials, and because of my incompetence, I couldn't get to work properly and left it to the disgusting creatures of the land to do God knows what down there. These thoughts made me hesitate, but thinking about how my little chicken could be in danger of being mauled by zombies or blown up to bits by a creeper forced me to down the dang tunnel system. After some time, I finally arrived at the place where my chicken was being held. As I opened the door and turned to the corner, to my horror, I see my friend. He who was spared from the fate of being just another cooked chicken, he who became my dearest friend, was tied to a fence post hanging above a pool of molten lava. Lava that, if he fell in, would surely spell his demise, and would give me much sadness. I sprung into action. I plugged up the holes of the lava so that I can safely walk across it, without risking myself getting burned. After plugging all the spots with lava, I then decided to build my way up towards my friend. After safely saving him, he returned him back to his spot in our house. I felt angry with my friends. How dare they do this to something I clearly care about? I felt so hurt by the experience. After they got done chuckling about their stupid prank, we decided to sleep in game so that morning would come, making it safer to explore and do things without worrying the game's enemies attacking us. As I began to head to my mustard-colored sheets on my bed, I decided to glance at something crimson-colored next to my bed. What is it? I thought to myself. As I focused more and it seemed like it made a trail of something hung on a wall, I got out of my bed and followed to see what was there, and my heart stopped when I saw it. There on the wall was raw chicken with a text, "A dear friend," written on it. What I had wasn't paint at all, but blood. Oh God, I thought to myself, what is this? I asked my friends, was this another one of their sick jokes? I was so confused, but what I knew was I wanted answers. My friends seemingly had no response. After what seemed like an eternity, one of them spoke up. "It's your dearest friends," he said. What the fuck? What did he mean by that? He was the chicken I saved, not my dearest friend? But instead of fake that looked like him? I was beginning to worry. I didn't know what was true or not. I hate to admit it, but I didn't know which one was my dearest friend, and no matter how much I protested, my friends would not tell me anything. I hated this, but I had no choice but to keep playing this twisted game with them to know the truth. As things settled down, I calmed down a bit. No doubt it was thanks to my little chicken friend clucking when he saw me. Just when I thought my friend's shenanigans came to a close, I was asked to ride the minecart by our house. Originally, that minecart led to an iron and sometimes diamond deposit my friend made when we first logged into the game. So I was a bit perplexed as to why I was asked to ride it. I stupidly agreed to ride it. Looking back, if I declined it, things wouldn't have ended up this way, because when I rode the minecart, it didn't lead me to the location it was supposed to go. It led to this dimly lit house that seemed like it was made underground. Begrudgingly left the safety and familiarity that was the minecart and headed towards the house. There were signs posting saying that someone was waiting for me inside the house and to go inside it. How weird, I thought to myself. I couldn't think of anyone else in the game that could be waiting for me inside the house, and my actual friends weren't anywhere nearby, so I didn't know what to expect when entering the house. When I got in, it was just as dark inside the house as it was outside. Through the darkness, I was barely able to make out some tables and what looked like a staircase. Seeing that there is nothing on the tables, I made my way up to the staircase. I was greeted with more signs, with the most ominous one saying that my dearest friend was through this door in front of me, and all I needed to do was to gently open the door. I hesitated. I didn't know what I was expecting to see behind this door. And all the outcomes I ran through my head weren't great either. Was it possible that they were able to grab my plump chicken friend and move him down her without me noticing? I could not figure out how they would be able to do something like that. Clenching my teeth and bracing for the worst, I did as the sign told me to do and opened the door. To my horror, there he was. My most beloved friend was hanging by a thread in that room, surrounded by raw chickens with the words, "A dear friend," written all across them. I nearly threw up. I could not handle this anymore. They kept messing with my chicken friend who has never done anything wrong to them. Why are they doing this to him? Is it to torment me? And if so, why involve him? I pushed away these thoughts, and most important thing right now is getting my dearest friend out of the situation and take him back home. Though when I clicked my mouse and made my in-game character to release my dearest friend from his binds, I noticed it had no effect. No matter how many times I clicked on it, I couldn't rescue my friend. What the fuck? I thought to myself. I complained to my friends about this, but I heard nothing back, and it dawned on me that I haven't heard anything from my friends this whole time. What the hell was going on? I shouted, but once again my words fell on deaf ears. I looked around to see if there was anything I could use in the room to rescue my buddy, but that was difficult due to the intense darkness in the room. As I blindly and frantically looked around for something, I saw what I thought was a block in an odd position. Upon closer inspection, it turned out it was a chest, but it was empty. I couldn't understand what that meant, but then I saw a sign saying to put something inside it. I then remembered about the chest outside, and that a raw chicken labeled as a dear friend was inside it. I thought it was just a dumb joke, and removed the thought from my mind, but it seemed like this is what the chest wanted. When I put the chicken inside, I heard a click, then a sound of some kind of mechanism. I looked around the room, and after what felt like an eternity, I found a hole in the ground. I couldn't tell how far down it went, but it seemed like there was no other way to progress in this madhouse. I gathered what courage that I had, hasn't frightened away, and jumped down. As I hit the bottom of the hole, I was greeted with something I did not expect. It was an exact replica of our house, except things fell off. For one of the doors to the outside was gone, and what was there was a pit of chickens. The chests we had in the house were all empty, save for one. What was inside of it was some kind of book documenting something. It was some kind of journal entry. I would have liked to read it, but I had other pressing issues. I saw what looked like a minecart leading to some kind of tunnel that was hard to see at the end of. Signs accompanied it saying make sure I had everything. I guess it means this book. I thought to myself as I hopped onto the minecart, hoping it would be the end of this madness. I pushed the button, and was sent through horrific sights that I still feel the scars of. The minecart ride was filled with horrific sights of chickens that soon seemed like they were killed and their flesh was plastered all over the walls, with each one having the words, "A dear friend," etched into them. All around me I kept seeing the same thing over and over again, and the thoughts of my beloved chicken friend came to mind, and imagining him being killed and skinned and plastered on the wall like these chickens made me faint. I don't know how long I was out, but I felt a nice cool breeze that gave me the rarity that was comfort in this tormented world. I slowly opened my eyes to see if I was outside, and that it had completely become nighttime. Shit, I said to myself. I hurried home, hoping to avoid the dangers of the night, and more importantly, to see what my dear chicken friend was okay. I got home as fast as I could, but when I opened the door I wasn't greeted with clucks, but instead with silence. My dear friend was gone again. "Why can't you leave my chicken alone?" I shouted to my friends and God. But again, I got no response from anyone. I'd head upstairs to see it. Anyone is up there hiding. When I get there I don't see anyone. But I noticed something peculiar. Where a raw chicken had been framed as a joke was instead another book. But this was different from what I have skimmed through the first one. This one had a stream of text all across it. Before I could say something I was kicked from the game, and both of my friends weren't even in the same group call as me. It was just me and my music player alone. When it also left, I was going to go there, but on cue my friends alongside the music player came into the call, and were also confused as to what happened. I didn't want to question them too much about it. All I wanted to do was go back into the game and see if my real friend was waiting for me to come home. They booted up the game and I eagerly went to see my feathered friend. I noticed something was off. It was as if my friends weren't my friends. I mean, sure they sounded and acted like them too, but something seemed off about them. But before I could figure out what was wrong with them, I realized that my real best friend was nowhere in sight. He wasn't upstairs, in the main room, or anywhere in our house. I confronted my friends about it, and to my horror, they seemed like they have no idea what I was talking about. They seemed genuinely confused for people who kept messing with my best friend. "My chicken was always here," I said to them, but to no avail. It was as if the chicken never existed to them. I had the brilliant idea to seek out the creepy tunnel that I went through to prove that they were playing a sick prank on me. But I went to go back for it. No matter how much I dig or where I dug, the entrance was seemingly nowhere to be found. It was as if it didn't even exist. I was about to say something to my friends when it dawned on me. What was bugging me earlier about them hit me. They were completely different looking than how they were before this mess. When did you guys change your skins? I had the utmost panic and stress in my voice. Though our characters cannot show emotions other than the default face, I knew that both of them were looking at me with the most puzzling face. To them, I seemed like a stranger who's blurting out nonsense about a chicken. "These are the same skins we've been using from the start. Are you okay?" I wanted to kill both of their characters right then and there. "Am I okay?" "Of course I'm not fucking okay," I wanted to tell them. After everything they put me through, they just acted like nothing happened at all. And worst of all, act like my chicken didn't exist? My head began to throb, my throat almost bone dry, began to feel rough, and I seemingly had no saliva to quench it. I was afraid and confused. I did the one thing that I knew would help me from stressing out. As much as it pained me to do so, I took to exploring, and after a while found a new chicken free of the pit. I went and led him to our home and placed him where my dearest friend should be. All the wrongness and guilt had to be pushed to the far reaches of my mind. I was in no state of mind to question my decisions at all. All I needed was to have a multi-chicken looking object there in the house to try and fill the void my true friend left at me, and I felt it was not filled then. All this dread and stress would begin to leak out of it, like if it were a plug to a bath to keep the water from escaping. It wasn't right, but I felt a sense of ease when I placed that chicken there. I had no idea where I was going on, but one thing I knew for sure was that it felt nice to have some sense of familiarity, even if it was falsified. After a while, it didn't seem like my friends would let up on this joke of them not remembering the chicken or old skins, so I decided that it would be best to just play along, so that I wouldn't have to suffer anymore. I was at my limit, and couldn't take any more of this. However, all that changed when I started finding out these odd journals all over the game world. My friends didn't know what was written on them, or who wrote it, so it seemed like I was again alone in this new occurrence. Throughout the sessions I kept finding them, some detailing events between two people and another what seemed like some kind of scientific document. By far the most interesting journals were the documents about a scientist and their associates finding that was some kind of pyramid thing. Apparently makes those who enter it appear in some kind of mirror dimension. I would have passed this off as some elaborate prank, but something within me kept saying that there was some hint of truth to these. Which didn't make sense because all this in the game, right? As ridiculous as it may seem, I feel that I didn't have much of a choice other than to believe it. Realizing that there was no option, I began to search for anything about this mysterious pyramid. It had to be somewhere in this world. That was certain because of the existence of these entries. But I had no idea where to even begin. I decided it would probably be best to stop the search for it. After all, there's only so much I can tolerate, and I've been well beyond the threshold. However, that all changed when I found what seemed like the last journal entry. It wasn't written like the others. I found up to this point, this one was very short, and the only thing written in it was a $sign. "I'm a dear friend." For a moment I was confused. I didn't really understand what this meant. I know it wasn't talking about US currency, but I can't help but to feel like I've sent the $sign. Used for something else and quite frequently too. The robot. It has to be that, I said out loud. Me and my friends have this bot and has various commands using the $sign. And one of the biggest characteristics of the bot is the ability to roll any character from any kind of media like movies, television shows, and sometimes even memes. I wonder if the journal was talking about me to use this command. Seeing that there weren't many options, I decided that I'd do it. There wasn't much more that could happen to me. What's the worst that could happen? I thought to myself. I got on Discord and clicked on an existing text channel used for putting the commands in for the bot. Would it even work? I mean, why would he be in here in this character roller? I said as I began to type out the command that was inscribed into the book. To my surprise, I actually got a hit. There the bot displayed two images. One was a picture of him. It was my dear friend who I had thought I'd never see again. Maybe that I was stuck in some kind of other world or something. I could tell it was my chicken. My best friend. The next image was what seemed like a link to a video. Seeing as there wasn't much else, I decided to follow the link. What came up was an unregistered video on YouTube. The video showed my feathered friend being dragged to some kind of structure, and before any more was shown, it ended. I wonder if it was the pyramid that was mentioned in those entries. For a moment, I sort of blanked out. All these thoughts of the days that passed by, the game rolled, the house we built, my chicken, and everything that transpired afterwards. I felt that everything that has happened had led up to this point. Whether it was signs for being led here by fate, I arrived in front of the fountain we built. For once in a long time, I didn't feel scared or panicked. I felt strangely at ease. When I get in this fountain, I know I will come out a different person. Whether I'll be a good person or a bad one is something I don't have the answers to. But what I do know is that I want to remember the person who I am right now. That's why I've been writing in this journal ever since it all started. But this will most likely be my last entry. Though before I close this off, I can't help but to feel that something sounded off. Not necessarily with what I wrote, but more literal. See, as I was writing this, I decided to put on some music that would help me calm down, writing the more dramatic moments of this. My friends and I made some music playlists for when we play games together to set the mood. One happens to be that's easy on the ears and psyche. We labeled this one Easy Listenings, as it was like the most comfortable one to listen to. But something sounded off. For a moment, like 10 to 15 seconds, I could have sworn I heard something off. I wish I had time to check it, but there's something more important I need to focus on. Please, if you're reading this, can you check the video if something happens to me? Please, check out the mysterious and very conspicuous video in Easy Listenings. I won't have time to do it myself, and if I do make it out of this alive somehow, I would like to know that the video was about. I also want you to remember that I am, or was, Nick Fisher, born again Mormon, and I just wanted my dear friend back.